on, hook back up, there it goes. Hey, what's going on, guys? Brandon here with Texas Revving, and it's pretty chilly out. It's pretty damp as well. To anyone else, it looks like a grim day, but to me, I think it's an opportune day to take out the good old SVT GT500. Why not? Hooning around just a little bit. If we happen to lose traction, well, that's okay by me. So have a little bit of fun with it. But the main subject matter, again, this being the SVT GT500, specifically the 2014, I want to talk about a couple key points, and I'm going to sound a little biased, but it's been about 3 months since I bought it, pre-owned of course, and I want to talk about a couple key points on why I think it's a pretty good purchase. I don't want to go out, of course, and call it an investment, but I think it's a good purchase. If you're considering getting one, I think you are better for it. So I got a little bit of a bulletin list. We're going to kind of run it down. Again, kind of want to use that word a little loosely and carefully. I'm not saying this is an investment car by any means, but one that I think will be favorable in the marketplace. So if you want one, best to get it somewhat early. This sounds like I'm biased because I own it, but in fact, these thoughts are the reason why I snagged it as soon as I did. So a couple opinions. I'll kind of preface it by saying these are just my opinions, but you know what? Enough rambling outside of the car. Let's go ahead and throw a couple GoPros inside, go for a quick little drive, and tell you guys why I think it's not a bad pickup right now. All right, go ahead and hop in here. First, just to get a good look at the lights, this thing ages so well. Alright, about to go on a quick little drive here, and as I was pulling the car out of the garage and heard the rain hit the car, I realized this is the first time I've driven the GT500 in the rain at all. I've only driven it when it was like, I don't know, over 70 degrees, 80 degrees or so. So now, I don't know, it's not that cold. It's like 50 degrees, but chilly enough, and there's pretty much no tread in the rear tires, just so you understand where we're at. So it should be a pretty good time. But yeah, first time in the rain. What I'm gonna do is just turn traction off just by pressing it once. That should still keep stability control on, so it's not like it's got all the nannies off. Just enough to make me feel like a hero, but hopefully without riding the car off. As I put it in first, that is a good time to talk about that this is, at the moment, the last GT500 with the manual. I would love to be wrong in this, but I think it's gonna stay that way. Again, if the S650 comes out and the 500 rolls out soon after and they bring the manual back, I will be very happy. But as for now, as you guys know, there was no transmission option. It was a 6-speed manual here, and the new 500 is a 7-speed dual clutch. Great transmission, but still not a manual. So as for now, it is the last of a GT500 with the manual, and the GT350 is the last of a Shelby with the manual. It's too bad. Everyone talks about, oh, but you're way faster with a dual clutch or an auto or whatever, and that's true, but the thing is, fast is great and everything, but that'll always be there. As far as a driving experience, it's kind of why you buy a car like this anyway. Come on, hook back up, there it goes. That wasn't the most efficient way to take a corner, but it's the experience. That's what I'm getting at. When you take away a manual, think about it this way. For all my friends out there that don't know how to drive manual, this is the best way I can put it. If you drive an automatic, your only job is to steer, brake, and throttle input. Imagine if one of those got taken away from you. Imagine if it was autopilot for steering and all you did was throttle and brake. It wouldn't be that much fun to drive anymore. It's one less thing you have to do. Even if it's way better at steering than you are, you want to steer. As you saw from that slide, that was done because, well, yes, multiple things, the power of it and all that kind of stuff, but it's made way more fun because it's way more controllable through the solid rear axle. So this generation, the S197, was the last of a solid rear axle. It's pretty archaic. It's what makes it feel more like a muscle car. It is not the best piece of technology, but it's certainly, again, one of those things about the experience. So if you ask for the technical definition on why a solid rear axle is better, I can't give it to you. I'll be the first to tell you I don't know all that much. I just know what makes something feel more fun in one sense or the other. The solid rear axle, drag racers will tell you they like it better the way it puts the power down. I like it because when you lose traction, it makes it way more controllable and thus more fun because you feel like a hero. Again, that's with the traction like half off, so I'm not trying to press my luck too much. But the solid rear axle for burnout, slides, controlled slides, all that stuff, it's a whole different experience, and this is the last year of 14 of a solid rear axle, and it's the ultimate version as it's the GT500. Tell you what, I've been mentioning how I'm on traction half off. The way you turn it all the way off is you have to come to a standstill like this, and we'll turn it back on just to start from scratch, and I have to hold down traction off for about 5 or 6 seconds. Let's see. That should be traction all off. We got a little bit of a place to where it shouldn't be able to spill off. Let's see the difference in feel with traction all the way off. I'll try not to press my luck too badly. Holy crap. As wet as it is outside, we started seeing some smoke, so it lights it up. I'll be the first to tell you also, I'm not that great of a driver, so we're gonna go ahead and go back to that halfway point, traction back on, and my heart's pounding, and press it once. That should be good. Now we got our training wheels back on, so we should be able to do tiny little slides and not press our luck too badly. That saves my butt, and I didn't even realize how much until I just turned it off right there. We all know and love the late and very great Carroll Shelby. Well, he passed away in 2012. This being a 13 and 14 year model car, of course that means it was debuted in 2012 and developed a couple years before then. That being said, Carroll Shelby knew about it. Now, some people say he gave his input on the engineering, all that stuff. I don't know if that's true. On his last 2 years of being on this earth, I don't think Carroll was too busy wanting to engineer a car by any means, but he certainly knew of its existence, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm not trying to leverage the passing of Carroll Shelby to add to the story on this car for gain and value or anything like that, but it's any bit of story like that, people who like these cars, including myself, we'll take it. We love stories like that, that Carroll Shelby knew of this car before he passed away. That being said, this is the last car to bear his name before he had passed.
I'm really proud to have my name on this car that you guys have put together, working with my dreams of what I think a car should be, and you've made it that and more. Whatever the competition comes out with, we're going to kick the hell out of them. There's a few other cars out there that might have most of the features that this car has, but they're at least $100,000 more. The hell with them. We've got to take the people that go out and work for a living, be able to afford our cars, and that's what we're doing.
Any kind of story like that regarding this car, I think people kind of enjoy that. I know I certainly do, not trying to leverage that. Oh, come on, man. This thing's so fun. So anyway, it is the last car that bared his name before he had passed. Again, not trying to over leverage that. I just think it's a little bit of a story, and people who like these cars appreciate that. So certainly something on the list. Let's talk about the difference between quick and fast. I think quick is about zigzag and acceleration. Fast is just overall top speed. That being said, this is the third fastest Ford ever produced, a road car ever produced. The first one being the brand new Ford GT, the 2016 or 17 plus, is good for 217 miles an hour. The 2005-2006 Ford GT is good for anywhere from, I heard, 206 to 211 miles an hour. And in third place is this. Ford said this car is good for 202 miles an hour, which is the fastest Mustang. The new one's great, it just got so much downforce, so it's quicker but not faster. But the third fastest Ford ever made is a 2013 or 14 GT500, 202 miles an hour top speed. It's cool seeing a speedometer that goes up to 220 on a Mustang. So fastest Mustang, third fastest Ford. We'll get into the engine and power, all that stuff in just a little bit, but before we even go there, I have to talk about it is a lot of power and torque, and to make sure that the car was able to manage that, they made the Driveshaft totally made out of carbon fiber, which is very expensive, but they took the liberty to do that just to make sure it was going to be able to take that power and torque. I alluded to it, so let's go ahead and talk about it. This, in case you don't know, you're about to, it's got a 5.8 liter supercharged V8, sourced from the 5.4 liter that was used in the GT500 from 2010 to 12, I believe. 5.4 liter supercharged V8, also the same out of the 2005-2006 Ford GT. So this is an evolution of that, and they knew they wanted to do a little bit more power, and they didn't know what to do. So apparently it was in contention. They thought about dropping the 6.2 liter V8 from the Raptor into the 500. It wouldn't fit, so they went back to the 5.4, and instead of using steel liners, they infused the cylinder walls with plasma. Again, not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about. I'm regurgitating information that I know, but whatever it is, with a little bit of voodoo magic over at the special vehicle team. They were, excuse me, I wish I could talk and drive crazy like Chris Harris. Whatever the SVT team did, they were able to make it a 5.8 and make 662 horsepower. Which, let's mind you, back when that was announced in 2012 as a 1314 car, that was unheard of. There was no Hellcat. This was the most powerful production V8 ever put into an American car. And so you could imagine it just had a road presence of just an absolute American muscle car king at the time. And all these years later, 662 horsepower is nothing to sneeze at, especially going to rear-wheel drive, solid rear axle with the manual. So it all kind of comes around. You can see it's all about that experience. But yeah, heck of an engine. And it's very, very reliable from what I've heard as well. They'll be able to run forever, apparently. We'll see. Something that may surprise some people, but probably won't as well. I haven't gone left here. We'll try that out, see what's down here. Is the fact that it is daily drivable. So that might surprise some people, just considering it's a 2013 or 14 Mustang with the manual and the crazy horsepower, all that. But for those of us that are cultured and know what the GT500 is all about, the GT500 from the beginning in the mid-late 60s was always made to be the road car, the comfortable daily driver race car, but mostly a road car. That didn't change with the 2014. I would argue the new one's even better at being daily drivable. But this 2013 or 14 GT500 is absolutely daily drivable. You can turn the traction all the way on, of course. What else? There's two different suspension modes. There's stiff and then normal. Normal is very nice. The car's not too low by any means. It doesn't scrape everywhere. Long story short, you could daily drive this car no more compromising than you could the 5.0 or the EcoBoost Mustangs. It's the same. It just has more, I don't know, it's got something extra when you want it. But daily drivable, absolutely. Would you want to? Personally, no. I kind of want to preserve it for just special occasions and only drive it like a hoon. And for the daily stuff, I'll take something else. But if you wanted to, you could, absolutely, without a doubt. I didn't really mean to use that word as far as preserve. I'm not trying to over baby this car. I'm just lucky enough to have some options to drive around. So it happens to not get driven all that much. But with that said, if you were to buy this and worried about the market on it, from what I can tell, they don't seem to be mileage sensitive, which is pretty cool. Some cars, like, I know this is a whole different league, but Ferraris, for example, you could get a very special edition Ferrari, but God forbid, if you actually drove it, you would lose value on it so fast. Where cars like Porsche, some Corvettes even, and this car are kind of, they're not sensitive at all on the miles. I've seen some cars go for 60 grand as low as under 10,000 miles, as high as 28,000 miles. They all kind of sell for around similar price ranges. So from what I'm seeing anyway, if you wanted to snag one with about 10 or so thousand miles for the mid to higher 50s, you happen to put 20,000 miles on it, I don't think you'll be at much of a loss from what I'm seeing anyway. Of course, I'm always gonna say it, you should buy a car because you actually want the car based on how it drives and how it makes you feel, all that, before anything else. Speculative buyers are terrible for the car community. So anyway, I guess the last thing I'll say is a little bit more ambiguous, but it's certainly true. And that is just the way cars are going. I'm not that big of a fan. I think you guys kind of know that if you've seen even one of my videos in the past. I'm someone who favors experience and driver involvement more than lap time, 0 to 60s, anything of that sort. I just do not care. I don't know off the top of my head what this thing does 0 to 60. I forgot. I just don't care. And so more cars nowadays are starting to become more about EPA ratings, even if they're even more or less efficient in the real world. They just need to get better EPA ratings. They need to be more fuel efficient, this, that. They're not giving them with manuals. Smaller displacement, twin turbos. And it's all good on paper, but when you drive it, there's just something so boring. That's my opinion, but new cars are just boring. And this car's not even all that old, but you can already say they don't make them like they used to. And so this is as new as a classic car can get, in my opinion. And I think that's why it's gonna go down in history years, decades down the line as a very, very sought after car, more than it is right now. So I only make this video not to hype up a car that I own. I don't care for that. But if because when I make a video with this car, I get a lot of comments saying, oh, dream car, I want to buy one. And I'm not trying to force anyone to make a decision before they're ready for it, but I would certainly say if you're in contention and thinking about getting one, I think you're in a good place, because for these reasons, I think the car is going to go up in value. And if you're wrong, you're left with the car you wanted anyway. The car doesn't change. So that all being said, that's my little bulletin list. I don't know how many things were on this list, but of why I think a 2013 or a 14 GT500 is a good buy. Let's talk about money real quickly. I may have overpaid for this car. It had 6,970 miles, which is not much for a 14. And now it's got almost 7,800 miles. And I paid about just a hair over 61. Come on, hook up, there it goes. A little over $61,000 at the time. And people thought I was an idiot. They might be right, but the thing is, they're only thinking I'm an idiot based off what the car was selling for 4 or 5 years ago. I still pay less than MSRP. Look at it that way. The car MSRP'd for $68,000, and at the time they sold for anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 over sticker. Well, I'm well under that. So for the long run, I think I'm fine. And so that is that. Last little extracurricular thing I'll mention, based off how cool the interior looks, how the styling looks, this and the way it drives. I said it was like the most modern a retro car gets. Well, look at the interior. As a 2014, I don't think it looks old, because right away it looked like a retro interior. Right away, the exterior looked like a retro Mustang, just like the 2005 and 6 Ford GT. Right when it came out, it almost looked old. And now it's been 15 years, and it looks like it was made tomorrow. I think the same thing with this. They kept it pretty retro to where I think it's just going to age very well. It's already been a handful of years, and everyone loves the way it looks, including myself. But yeah, anyway guys, that's the 2013 or 14 GT500 and why I think it's a pretty good buy. Might sound biased, but it's all these things that made me want to buy the car in the first place. Let me know if you guys agree, and let me know what other cars are out there that you think are pretty good purchases this time for the future. Let me know. I just grow to love this car more and more with every drive. But anyway guys, that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.